any of these people here that you're seeing right now, they are out of the tournament. That is what double elimination means. So everything is on the line for these players. And we're gonna kick things off with a great feature match, Rei Sato versus Greg Orange. Let's hear more about it from day 9.
I'm really excited to see what Rei Sato is going to be bringing. I've been obsessing over the deck list from all the day 1 players, but Rei Sato we haven't actually gotten the chance to see really play much at all.
Yeah, you know, the nice thing here for Rei is that he was able to win his split for the MPL going up against Greg Orange. So that means, of course, a bye right into day number 2 of competition, which really is really nice. We're seeing Brad Nelson, Brian Mondino trying to take advantage of that as well, but going up against the Esper Control master.
I cannot stress to you how relaxing it is to not have to play through day 1, 8 rounds straight. Oh, Rei Sato, that's right. The Boros Aggro deck going up against Greg Orange's, I'd almost call it archetypical Esper Control.
Well, so this is, unsurprisingly, in Greg Orange's wheelhouse here, right? I've talked about Greg Orange a lot this week, and I've had the opportunity to watch him play a lot of matches. He's picking up an untimely loss early on here in day number 2, so if he does lose this match, he's out of the tournament. However, Esper Control is very, very good against Boros Aggro. Greg Orange has made a career out of taking care of aggressive white and red-based strategies. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do incredibly well here. This is kind of his sweet spot. He loves playing Esper Control. We know that. We know he loves picking apart aggressive decks as well. For Rei Sato, we know that Boros Aggro has been kind of an unorthodox choice. There's not a ton of those here this weekend, but there are 2 in day number 2 of competition, which means that it's been a pretty good choice, but this is an uphill climb.
Now, Rei Sato does have some very interesting technology living in that deck. First of all, main decking a pair of Gideon Black Blades. Just the murderer of Esper decks. Also in the sideboard, we've seen a lot of these white weenie decks that splash blue, splash red, and just have like 3 or 4 of the non-white cards in the sideboard, but there's 2 Tybalt Rakish Instigators, there's 3 Experimental Frenzies, and a pair of Heroic Reinforcements. So Rei Sato really leveraging that red quite a bit. And I'm curious, what is your sideboarding plan if those are some of the red cards in your sideboard against Esper Control?
Well, ideally you're able to get out some copies of Conclave Tribunal, but there are definitely some bigger cards that you want to kill, so you're kind of trying to split the difference. You've got these powerful red spells that you do want to bring in Tybalt, in Heroic Reinforcements, and Experimental Frenzy. You do probably want to sideboard out some number of creatures to be able to enable that, but you also don't want to sideboard out too many so that you don't have aggressive starts. That's some of the problem that we saw yesterday for our aggressive white players is they weren't able to split the difference well enough, and in the sideboarded games, they generally lost. They won game 1 a lot, and they lost the sideboarded games because they may have diluted their deck too much in combination with their opponents bringing in a lot of really good cards.
Oh, and it's so agonizing to see because, you know, a lot of the starting 60 cards you bring are so proactive, and you get all excited about all the answers and preparations you're going to have, and you just lose proactivity, the essential core of the deck. Now, we've been talking a lot about Boros, a lot about Rei Sato, but we did get the chance to talk to our Esper Control superstar, Greg Orange.
I'm Greg Orange. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm the only 6-0 from day 1, MC3, I suppose. I'm thinking at this point I might as well just win the whole thing. It's been like almost a year since I won my last PT, so I figure the second time's the charm, I hear. So I'm gonna try to go for number 2. Yeah, I'm probably the best player in the running. I don't know. I would definitely like to qualify for Worlds.
May as well just win. May as well.
I mean, if he's got nothing else to do, we don't want to try him too hard. So I'm a big fan of self-depreciating humor. At the end of the day, Greg is one of the very best players. He's just kind of like, I did win Pro Tour 25th anniversary. It's not like a big deal. I guess I could win this too.
I mean, if I'm at the grocery store, I may as well pick up some extra eggs and a ticket to the World Championship.
And a trophy. Yeah, give me that.
Why not?
Give me that. Absolutely.
And I do think that this is a matchup where you have to be very deft as a control player. You have so few turns to maximize the amount of defense that you have. You have to not just cross your fingers and hope you get the Kaya's Wrath that you need. You have to be very, very deliberate about when and where to use things like Oath of Kaya. The fact that it deals 3 damage means it can remove any threat. Do you remove one of the smaller ones that you just happen to have out right now? Do you wait a turn because some of the larger threats like Banalish Marshal or the History of Benalia Knights trying to remove those? And I'm really impressed with Greg's calm ability to navigate these situations on day one.
Again, this is his wheelhouse. This is his comfort zone. As you saw in that little feature there, he was the only 6-0 in day number 1 of competition, so he advanced early on. You know, one of the only people to do it besides the players in the MPL Weekly who pushed through. So this is, I mean, again, this is his wheelhouse. I actually expect him to win this match. I know the experimental frenzy can be scary, but again, this is Greg's comfort zone. He knows these matchups. It would be somewhat ironic for him to get knocked out by an aggressive white strategy because he's been beating them for literally the past 5 years.
Well, he's going to have to stay super focused because this is an elimination match. Whoever wins this advances through lowers and has to win a hell of a lot of rounds today to make it on to day 3. Whoever loses is out. Let's head to Becca to introduce the players.
Thank you, Day 9. All right, let's get these players in front of their screens. Coming to the stage right now, the champion of the Grand Prix Hong Kong 2017 with 3 Grand Prix top 8s under his belt. It's Rei Sato! The champion of Pro Tour 25th anniversary. You know him, you love him, the Orange Assassin. It's Greg Orange. Oh, Citrus Assassin. All right, let's throw it over to our friends Marshall and Paul with the call.
Thank you, Becca. Wow, she got that correction in just in time. You do not want to get on the bad side of the Citrus Assassin. Of course, Greg Orange was our only undefeated player coming in from day number 1. He went 6-0, but he's already picked up a loss here today. And since we're in double elimination, he is facing down the dreaded 6-0, 0-2, I'm out of the tournament. And his opponent, Rei Sato, kind of in a similar spot. He got to just cruise right into day number 2 thanks to his exemplary performance at the MPL Weekly events, earning him this spot. But he showed up and said, well, I want to play. Sure, he'd take a seat, took a loss. If he loses here, he's going to show up and go 0-2 out of the tournament.
Yeah, well, so this is a very different tournament structure than what we've had in, our tabletop events, where, if you have a good start, if you start out 6-0, you're in a really good position to make the top 8 because that record carries over to the next day. But in this event, it's a simple cut to day 2, and then the tournament starts all over. So how you did day 1 doesn't really matter as long as you made it in. So if you pick up that first loss, it is huge.
All right, so what that means, though, is that we are facing an elimination match here between Greg and Rei. The loser of this match is out. It's that simple. The winner lives to fight another day, and we have a matchup. Well, it's a classic. It's Control versus Aggro, Paul. We have effectively mono white on the bottom side of your screen. There's a few red cards that will come in out of the sideboard, but in the main deck here, we're talking about all white. And on the other side of the table, it's the pure Control deck in the format.
And Greg Orange missing land drop number 3. He was on the play. He does have some really powerful effects in hand. I mean, take a look. He's got Kaya's Wrath, which is one of the strongest cards in this matchup, at least in game 1. And he does have a pair of removal spells, but he does need to hit some land drops. And Rei Sato might just be winning this game very, very soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you like this start? Is it fine? Do you think it's okay?
Well, I mean, the thing with Rei is he also had kind of not the ideal start because he didn't have a play on turn 2. He went 1 drop into nothing into History of Benalia. So it's more the fact that Greg Orange is being punished here for not drawing his lands.
Well, Greg does have Moment of Craving and that cast down. Here's a land off the top of the library for him, although no blue mana source in sight just yet.
And Greg does want to fire off this Moment of Craving here. There are 3 knights on Rei Sato's side of the battlefield here, and History of Benalia is about to go to Chapter 3, which will pump all of the knights on the battlefield, and Rei will be able to get in for an attack for 8 this turn. If he plays Banalish Marshal, that'll be 10, which will be half of Greg Orange's life total.
Yeah, and he's going to do it. Play one way, says Rei Sato. Jams out Banalish Marshal onto the battlefield, and crunch. Kiss half your life total goodbye, Greg Orange, and all the pressure is on Greg.
He needs a land here.
He needs a land, and it's Commanded Dreadhorde.
No.
And while he is technically alive here, facing down just 9 power, that's probably all she wrote.
I mean, he has 1 more turn here. This is an attack for 9 damage. That'll get Greg to 1. So if Greg can draw not a shock land, it needs to be a non-shock land that taps for white or black mana here. for him to be able to cast Kaya's Wrath and try to stabilize off of that.
Yeah, Rei Sato smart. He's going to keep that Sky Marcher aspirant in hand. It didn't matter anyway. Greg Orange is down a game in the elimination bracket here. This is, we call it the lower bracket. That's the one where every match you play, if you lose, you're out. And that's exactly what Greg is facing down after a dream day one. He sliced through the field.
Look at how quickly Rei sideboarding. He just knows exactly what he needs to do here.
Wow.
Sideboarding out Benalish Marshall, sideboarding out all the Venerated Loxodons because he's playing against the deck with a lot of sweepers. Cards like Oath of Kaya is so efficient at dealing with Benalish Marshall. He has better 3-mana cards to play in his deck. Gideon Blackblade going up to the full 4 copies, extremely difficult threat to deal with. Tibalt Rakish Instigator being able to stop the life gain effects. That's part of how Esper, that's part of the reason why Esper is so favored in the matchup is cards like Oath of Kaya, Basilica Bellhunt, and Moment of Craving not only just being highly effective cards at killing things or just, you know, staving off offenses, but also that incidental life gain attached to those cards.
Also notice there that Rei brought in all of his red cards.
Yes.
So the sideboard plan very much in play here, bringing in Experimental Frenzy to hit Greg Orange from an angle that's different than onboard creature damage, similar to what you said with Gideon Blackblade. And then he also brought in Heroic Reinforcements, which is the slams the door on a lot of games.
Yeah, and
Tibalt too.
Yeah, yesterday when Kai was being interviewed, you know, he was told, "Hey, board out Kaya's Wrath in this matchup and see what happens." But it looks like Greg actually still liking Kaya's Wrath here. One thing I want to talk about Rei Sato's list: 21 lands, which is actually 1 land more than the typical build of these various wide aggressive decks. We saw yesterday Kentaro Yamamoto multiple times being mana screwed, not having enough lands in play to be able to cast his 4-mana cards. So, you know, having that 1 additional land, you know, it might seem inconsequential, but it does add a few percentage points, gives you a slightly higher likelihood of being able to hit your heavy hitting cards.
Okay, this is it. That was a very quick game number 1 with the mana stumbles there from Greg. And he is now up against it, because if he can't pick up a victory here, it's going to be Rei Sato staying alive, and he'll send Greg Orange packing. But of course, Greg gets to be on the play here. He leads things off with a Godless Shrine. How does his hand look for Greg?
It looks really strong. Again, he needs to find lands, but he's able to play turn 2 Hero of Precinct 1, followed by Cast Down, and he's got some additional gold cards in hand. So this is the type of start that you want. However, you know, Greg also needs to make sure that he can chain together some land drops. So it looks like he's actually running out Search for Azcanta to make sure that he can just curve out smoothly instead of running out the hero, because he doesn't have a gold card to follow up Hero Precinct 1 after turn 2.
Here's the Danto Vanguard on the battlefield. Turn 2 for Rei Sato. 2 damage incoming. Down to 18 goes Greg before getting the turn pass back to him. Search is searching for lands in this case. It's going to be Thought Erasure hitting the bin, and there's a Hallowed Fountain off the top of the library. So good play there from Greg. He did need to hit a land here, and thanks to that search for Azcanta, that's exactly what happened.
And now Greg has another tough choice here. He can either run out the Hero Precinct 1 here or keep up Cast Down.
He's going to go for the hero. He's going to plan for the longer game, and that Hero of Precinct 1 currently no answer for it from Rei. And yeah, he just has all the Adanto Vanguards in his deck now. 1 on the battlefield, 3 in hand. Of course, an easy attack step though for Sato. He's just going to jam. Yeah,
one of the best cards in the matchup. However, Greg Orange is now probably trying to set up for not the Kaya's Wrath in hand, but the Basilica Bellhunt. It's sized perfectly here. It's a 3/4, meaning that it can just brick wall the Adanto Vanguard, and it'll give Greg that additional token to block with. So Greg really needs to find land number 4 here to be able to play that Bellhunt. And if he does, he will kind of stabilize, because, you know, Rei boarded out all of his Benalish Marshals and his Venerated Loxodons. He's not able to grow this Adanto Vanguard into a 4-power creature to punch through that Bellhunt.
Curious to see if Sato goes for Adanto Vanguard plus Law Rune Enforcer, or he could just run out Tibalt Rakish Instigator. He's going to go for the Vanguard and the Enforcer.
And one nice thing about the Enforcer, of course, is the fact that it can tap down the Basilica Bellhunt. But let's see if Greg finds land number 4.
He puts another copy of Kaya's Wrath in the graveyard, and Paul, he missed.
Oh, and this is tough. I mean, this is exactly what the white aggressives want to do. Punish awkward starts.
Was that game? I mean, did his percentage just fall off a cliff to win this game?
Yeah, it is extremely close to over here, because now Rei can even run out Tibalt here instead of maybe Adanto Vanguard, meaning that if Greg plays out the Basilica Bell Hunt, he won't even be able to gain that 3 life.
Now, the card I'm thinking about if I'm Rei Sato at this point, because there's a temptation to just play Clifftop Retreat, run out both Vanguards and say, well, you can't Kaya's Wrath me, I can save my board, is Cry of the Carnarium.
Yes.
And there is one in the sideboard here for Greg. Right now, only 1 black mana source and a missed land drop last turn. But
there's one in the sideboard and one in the main. So there is a chance that Greg has that in his hand and just needs a black source.
So he's going to instead play Tibalt Rakish Instigator. He still has plenty worth of lethal on the battlefield anyway, and he could use those Adanto Vanguards as backup plans if this doesn't pan out the way that he hopes. This also allows him to add to the board and prevents Greg Orange from gaining life. Whoa. This has not gone well for Greg. Day 2 has been a disaster for him. Lost his first round and now well and truly up against it against Rei Sato, and Greg could be out after a 6-0 start.
Yeah, as you can see, Rei there just agonizing over whether or not he even wants to make a token here with the Tibalt because he already has such a strong board. And Greg also playing to his outs here, killing that Law Rune Enforcer because he knows that he needs to draw a mana source to play Basilica Bell Hunt. He needs land number 4.
Oh, he hit Thought Erasure after putting Teferi in the graveyard. This will give him a creature off of Hero of Precinct 1, but you have to feel like on chump block mode here,
right?
Things have completely fallen apart now for Greg Orange. What a tough day for him.
And he even ran out Search for his Cancer turn to over Hero to try to hit land drops.
And look at this, heroic reinforcements off the top of the library says, you will not get another turn. And Rei Sato defeats Greg Orange in 2 quick games. A fantastic day 1 for Greg, but it is going to end here. That's his second loss on a double elimination day 2.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, he really just kind of had very strong hands for the matchup, but just wasn't able to cobble together land number 4 in either game to be able to cast his heavy-hitting spells.
And like you said, you know, we have to give credit to Rei Sato and his deck choice here. That is a big reason why you play a deck like that, right? We're talking about effectively mono white. In game 1, it just is a mono white deck, all untapped lands, you know, in theory. In practice, it almost always is all untapped lands. And you can just run over your opponent if they make even the slightest stumble. In those games, Greg had major stumbles. We're not talking about like a small, you know, he missed major land drops and then...
Yeah, and the thing that I want to talk about with Rei's specific build, we talk about how the white weenie deck is kind of not favored against the Esper Control decks, but he heavily tuned his deck. He's playing red, and he's got a lot of red cards in his sideboard. We saw Tibalt have the potential to prevent life gain, and heroic reinforcements off the top sealing the deal there.
That's right. So a quick one here for our main feature, but we've got more from Maria right now.
Hey, thanks so much, Marshall. Yeah, let's take a look at our brackets here. We're going to start with the upper bracket. If you're just joining us, take a look. This is who are watching this round, who have won. They've got a loss to give, so there's a little bit of wiggle room for these players, but again, not much. There you see the matchup, Raphael Levy versus Jean-Emmanuel Deprat. I'm going to call this one the Battle of the Baguettes there. 2 of our French players, 2 Magic World Cup champions playing here in round 2. Then Shahar Shenhar versus Marcio Carvalho. That is a mono red matchup versus Esper Control. So very, very fast, and somebody trying to slow the game down. Ken Yukihiro versus Matias Leverato, the winner who qualified through thousands and thousands of players to get here to this tournament. Doing very well so far on Simic Nexus versus Ken Yukihiro's Bant Ramp. And then, of course, Shota Yasaoka versus Brad Nelson. Brad on Esper Hero, Shota Yasaoka on Esper Control. You heard Brad say it earlier this morning. You know, he did not want to face Esper Control here in day 2, but so far he's had to face it 2 times. Let's see if he can get a second win out. Let's take a look at our lower bracket. Remember, everybody playing here is playing an elimination match, and we just saw the conclusion there of Rei Sato versus Greg Orange. Rei, of course, taking that match. Greg undefeated on day 1, but a quick loss here in day 2. So unfortunately for him, but a great run. Kai Buddha versus Brian Bronduin. We're going to be watching all of that match coming up, so don't go anywhere. Same goes for Simon Görtzen versus Lee Shi Tian. We're going to watch the entirety of that match in our feature match area. And Kentaro Yamamoto versus John Rolfe. Also an elimination match here in our lower bracket. So lots of exciting stuff coming your way from all of our brackets here at Mythic Championship 3. But for now, let's go to Becca with one of our big winners.
Thanks, Maria. That's right. I'm here with Rei Sato and our interpreter, Miku. The first thing I want to know is, how does it feel to come straight to day 2 and take down the player who's 6-0?
デイ1を飛ばして、でそして初めて当たったのが昨日6-0したグレッグ・オレンジさんだったじゃないですか。その6-0してプレイヤーを倒したっていうのが、はい、いかがでしたでしょうか。
そうですね。エスパーコントロールとは一番多くやっていたので、とても良かったです。はい。
Well, Esper Control deck was the I play against the most, so I was really happy that I got the matchup.
Excellent. Then why did you decide to bring the Boros Aggro deck?
今回のボロスアグロで戦おうと思った理由っていうのは何だったんでしょうか。
そうですね。多くのコントロールデッキに対して、エスパーヒーローにはちょっと分が悪いんですけれども、エスパーヒーローと今回でいうとモノレッド以外にはすごいよく戦えるデッキなので選択しました。
I think Boros Aggro is really good against all the control deck. It's not really good against Esper Hero or the Mono Red, but it should be good against all the other decks. So that's why I brought it.
Okay, well, let's hope that you get those ideal matchups going forward. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching at home, and thanks to Rei. Congratulations on moving forward, moving on in the bracket. We're going to go to a short break from our friends at Twitch.
But down to 2 life. That will do it.
I am Andrea Mengucci, I'm from Italy. I am 25 and I'm a professional Magic player. Since I was a kid, I started playing Magic at the beach. It's basically been the only game that I've been playing. I was really good at sports, so I was just more playing on the computer, but always Magic.
You just became the first champion of the Mythic Invitational!
So I finished my study last year and I was like, okay, great. 2010 will be my professional year. I'll be playing professionally Magic.
Hi, I'm Martin Yuzo. I'm from the Czech Republic, and I play a lot of Magic. In high school, my friends were playing this interesting game, and I just, I was interested, so I asked them what it is, and it's this, cool strategy game, and before I knew it, I was buying packs and just had a huge collection and everything, and as the time went by, I started playing tournaments and went to PTQs and whatever, and now we're here. When I got the phone call, it was an exciting moment. It was just there's a lot of things running through your head, and you're like, oh, we finally made it. This is great. This is all we ever wanted.
My name is Luis Salvato. I'm from Argentina. The first time my brother bought some Portal decks. We learned how to play, and then 10 years ago, I'm playing professional level.
Faxon says that's enough to kill me. Luis Salvato is your...
My family and my friends support me a lot. When I found out that I was in the MPL, that I was selected for that, everyone, mostly me, was super excited about this.
My name is William Jensen, nickname Huey, and I'm here today because I'm a member of the Magic Pro League. I first started playing Magic in 1997. Didn't take me very long to become competitive and start going to tournaments. I was going to weekly tournaments on a couple weeknights a week and even Saturdays, and I really liked the atmosphere, and I definitely found somewhere where I felt like I belonged.
And welcome back to coverage here at Mythic Championship 3 from Las Vegas. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. Paul, they're dropping like flies. This is double elimination, and all of a sudden we have players falling out of the bracket, and well, we're sending them home, and that's how it's going to be all day. This round, we've got Simon Görtzen versus Lee Shi Tian. We had a chance to get a word from Lee.
My name is Lee Shi Tian from Hong Kong. I beat multiple people and I make it to a day 2. It means a lot. Like back in my country, in Hong Kong, lots of things are happening. If I can actually show how good the people from Hong Kong are, really, there's a very I achieved a lot for the game and for Hong Kong.
So, you can see that this means a lot to Lee Shi Tian, and of course we know it means a lot to Simon Görtzen as well. When we talk about the matchup, Simon said, okay, you know, look, I'm hoping to face a certain type of matchup, and this was not one of them.
Yeah, Simon said, look, I am ready for any Esper deck that I play
Put
against.
together those 3 colors, I'm good.
If you put islands, plains, and swamps in your deck, I am very, very happy. If you do anything else, apparently he's not very happy because he's lost to basically all the other decks. And the aggressive decks are the ones where he was really like, look, I really just need to dodge the mono-white and mono-red aggressive decks. I think specifically the mono-red deck is an even worse matchup, but he's not happy seeing a turn 1 Sky Marcher Esper either.
That's right. And as we mentioned before, we are in a potential elimination here. The loser of this match, well, they're done.
Yep.
That's their tournament. And, you know, I'll say making it to day 2 here is a major accomplishment in and of itself. But, boy, to be out in the second round would be really disappointing. So both of these players, of course, are going to be fighting for their tournament life. And the 1-2 punch here from Lee Shi Tian, Sky Marcher Aspirant into a Danto Vanguard. The good thing for Görtzen is he does have Incubation Druid on 2.
Yeah, and the thing with Lee's hand, he's got 5 lands. You never want to draw 5 lands if you're the white aggressive deck. And on top of that, he doesn't have one of his big kind of payoff cards, the 3 mana cards that really are extremely impactful. Cards like History of Benalia, Benalish Marshal, and even Venerated Lockstone. You really want one of those cards in your opener to be able to just kind of have those explosive starts. If he just goes 1-drop into 2-drop into Legion's Landing, that's just not going to get it done. And Simon has a pretty nice follow-up here. He can go Jadelight Ranger and Llanowar Elves this turn, and if you can make the Jadelight Ranger into a 4/3, that would be able to block the Sky Marcher Aspirant.
That's right. Simon looks like he's considering going for Llanowar Elves plus Incubation Druid. And that's what he's done. So Simon, you know, he says, look, I'm facing down 5 power. What were you talking about a second ago, Paul?
Yeah.
High impact 3 drops right on time off the top of the library. For History of Benalia there for Lee.
Yeah, that was a big time draw here from Lee. He now can get an attack in here. It looks like he's happy to trade the Aspirant for one of the mana creatures. Then now he's going to run out History of Benalia here. And the Adanto Vanguard is going to be problematic. Simon, however, if he does draw a land, he can actually block with Incubation Druid and Adapt. Actually, no, he doesn't need to draw a land. He can just do that now. So that's probably why he ran out that additional mana creature.
That looks good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a 3/5, if there's no answer from Lee, is a brick wall that he is not able to get through, and he has to go around it. That'll take a while. Wow, this is actually really interesting. Incubation Druid, you know, typically in this deck, for its ability to mana ramp early and then be that huge boost late, you know, producing 3 mana of any color that a land you can control could produce is huge. But just a 3/5 on the battlefield, at least as this game has played out thus far, is also excellent.
It looks like he just wants to kind of get the mana flowing here and chose to go with Jadelight Ranger here into Llanowar Elf instead. And he will have access to more than 7 mana next turn, meaning he will be able to cast Nexus of Fate. But of course, Nexus of Fate not especially effective if you don't have a Planeswalker in play or some other way to accrue card advantage.
Yeah, usually you'll wait. You'll see the players wait until they can do what you said. You know, accrue some type of advantage or attack.
Right. If you have a big
Hydro
Hydroid Crisis in play, then you can start playing those Nexus of Fates.
But as you mentioned, neither of those the case here. So Simon's going to pass the turn back after hitting land off of that Jadelight Ranger. Law Rune Enforcer was the draw step there for Lee. You know, he'll take a spell at this point. As you said, he would make a deal right now to just draw no more lands for the rest of the game. That one, perhaps not the most impactful at this point.
Yeah, you know, but it's not that bad, actually, because Simon at some point might want to adapt onto the Incubation Druid, and then the Law Rune Enforcer will have the ability to tap down that Incubation Druid on Simon's upkeep, meaning if he wants to use his mana, he can only cast instants or maybe adapt the other Incubation Druid. So Lee will be able to get in a free attack here for 3 with the Adanto Vanguard and put a couple extra threats on the battlefield. And on top of that, next turn, History of Banale should be going to phase 3. And so Lee's going to be setting up for a really big attack next turn.
Ooh, Nissa Who Shakes the World off the top of the library for Simon Görtzen, though. That is what he wanted to see.
Oh, that was a huge
Can he
draw
do it
for,
all?
Yeah, he can play Nissa Who Shakes the World and play Nexus of Fate this turn.
Wow, really rewarded for having taken the time to build up his mana. You know, no chump blocks in there, nothing. He has maintained every bit of mana that he could, and he's going to be paid off for it here.
I think at this point, Simon knows that he can go Nissa into Nexus of Fate. I think he's trying to figure out if he can go Nissa into Adapt into Nexus of Fate.
Ah, I like the way he thinks.
Yeah, try to get max value, but I don't think he can do all of those things. He needs to tap all the non-forest lands to get maximum value here from Nissa Who Shakes the World. And he can even untap Island here, and he'll still have 7 mana to cast Nexus of Fate. So really, really big turn here. Really huge draw for Simon.
Massive draw for Simon Görtzen. And you know what? He gets the free roll and attack here as well, because even if this island gets blocked, he can still fire off Nexus of Fate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Simon wants to make this attack. I think he's considering it, but Lee can also just choose to double block here with the 2 knights and get that land off the battlefield.
Gosh, is that bad for Simon? You know, the History of Benalia is going to Chapter 3.
Right.
Oh, look at this. Jade Light Ranger's going to get frisky.
That will trade with the Legion's landing token.
I think that Simon is content to just trade off for anything he can. Look at Lee. He's like, really, man? Like, just take the 2 also, right?
And Lee thinking here, look, you're attacking with your J-Light for a reason, so I'm going to respect that and choose not to block here with my 1/1 lifelink token, because maybe there is a way for Simon to make it so that Legion's landing won't flip next turn if he does make that trade.
Ooh, and look at this. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales, drawn off the top of the library after Nexus of Fate. That could help him find more action. I don't think his graveyard has a whole lot going on, maybe just a Llanowar Elves there, but...
Yeah, that was another very big draw here for Simon. So now he can play Tamiyo and choose to probably name either Hydroid Krasis or Nexus of Fate here.
Instead, it looks like he's going to kick things off by kicking Blink of an Eye to kill one of the Knight tokens on the other side of the battlefield and drawing himself a card. What does he find? Hinterland Harbor.
Maybe getting a little more information. Maybe he's going to just look to play Tamiyo and return Blink of an Eye from his graveyard to his hand.
You know,
and I think
that would leave him knightless.
Right. And at this point, I think Simon has stabilized here. He's sitting at 12 life, but he's got a bunch of those 3/3s in play. He's got an active Nissa. He's got Tamiyo to either search for something or get something back. And the mono white decks just simply don't have something to kind of go over the top once the opponent has kind of stabilized the board.
So here comes Tamiyo, and this draw has been beautiful here for Görtzen. Now the question is, does he just want to get back Blink of an Eye? It's hard to argue with that play, right? Because now he can kick it once again, get rid of the other knight. He's drawn 2 extra cards and taken out the key threats on the other side of the battlefield. It's just a great situation, especially now with Blink of an Eye in hand. He can just slam in there with these lands because there's no more good blocks. Conclave Tribunal off the top of the library, though, for Lee.
Yeah, however, Simon has that Blink of an Eye still to deal with the Tribunal for a turn.
Yeah, depending on what the target is, he also could return that card to his hand from underneath it.
And Simon now has the option to block with those 3/3s, and he still has the mana here to block with Incubation Druid and adapt, turning it into a 3/5, which can safely block any of Lee's attackers.
Wow, and that was enough for Lee Shi Tian. The writing on the wall for him, and by wall, I mean wall of beef. That was a lot of toughness that he was facing down, and he's going to pack it in. Simon Görtzen takes game number 1.
Yeah, the Nissa just the best possible draw there for Simon. Of course, Simon has a lot of other heavy hitters. He could have just found something like a Hydroid Krasis, which could have kind of chained him into more things there too. He had all the mana there. He had something like 7 or 8 mana that turn, but I think, yeah, Nissa was just the absolute perfect card there.
Pretty comfortable 12 life there for Simon as well, and as you mentioned, with no real great way for this white deck to just come over the top. He had set up the defenses while the player's sideboard. I want to remind you that Core Set 2020 is coming. And that, of course, means it's the best time to start playing Magic if you're following along on the stream and you want to get into this awesome game that we all love. A core set's a great introductory way to do so. It's real Magic. It's not like a special set only for new players. It just gives you that core feeling and the basics to what Magic is all about. The new set arrives on Arena July 2nd. And pre-releases are on July 5th. You can visit magic.wizards.com/core2020 if you want to find out more. What did did you catch what Lee brought in out of the sideboard? Does he have any big haymakers for a matchup like this? He's
I don't think so.
Blue splash.
Right. I think the plan here is still just be as aggressive as possible, and it looks like he actually went up to the full 4 copies of Baffling Ends. So maybe he wants to have access to the Baffling Ends just to kind of slow down Simon with his ramp creatures, and still just, you know, stay aggressive. That's really the only way he's going to be looking to win here. He wants the draws with Beneolish Marshal and Venerated Loxodon and just kind of overwhelm Simon.
Yeah, I was going to mention Disdainful Stroke has to be too tempting to not bring in against the big stuff deck, and he has in fact done that. Sky Marcher Aspirant hits the battlefield here. Turn number 1 for Lee, and I'm going to bring it up again, but this is it. Like, Lee has to win this game and then the next, or he's out of the tournament. So here we go.
This is close. Lee considering whether or not he wants to attack with the Sky Marcher Esper, but given how happy Simon was that, to trade off creatures before, I think it might just be better to wait here just to guarantee that you can flip that Legion's Landing next turn.
Start generating that repeat advantage that Legion's Landing, becoming Adonto the first fort, gives you. He does not attack, passes the turn back to Simon, who says, well, I do have a Llanowar Elf still.
This is a great start for Lee. He went 1-drop into double 1-drop. Simon didn't have a follow-up play after that turn 1 Llanowar Elf.
1-drop, double 1-drop, 2-drop, 1-drop on the 3rd turn. He has using up all of his mana and just dumping his hand onto the battlefield, baffling him to take out the Llanowar Elves. This is going to transform Legion's Landing, and even with the land drop that he already drew, he can cast Sky Marcher Aspirant. So things looking very good here for Lee Shi Tian. A great draw.
Yeah, and Lee is 1 permanent away from being ascended here, so the Sky Marcher Aspirants will actually fly next turn.
Make life very, very difficult for Simon Görtzen. You can see he is now staring down at a pair of Tameo Collector of Tales and a Palaka Worm, and the Hydroid Krasis of Shame here for Simon Görtzen. He has to run it out as a 1-1. And look at this, Deputy Detention.
Lee is considering it here. He's like, should I just run out Deputy here, get in for 7, and next turn that prevents a lethal, but that's a lethal attack next turn if he does do that.
It's exactly lethal if he does so, if Simon doesn't affect the board by next turn. But he says, you know what, Hydroid Krasis for 1, I can trade off one of my Sky Marcher Aspirants for that, still get you down to 10, and pass the turn with Disdainful Stroke, or make a 1-1 lifelinker available. So that is too tempting there for Lee Shi Tian to pass on. He's going to pass the turn back. Thrashing Brontodon was the draw step there for Simon, and I got to say that's not too bad, though. It looks like he's looking at Tameo.
Yeah, let's see. We have 3, 4, 8 permanents on the battlefield. Lee now has the ability to make a Vampire Soldier token at the end of turn. That will give him 9 permanents. So anything he plays next turn, or if he chooses to main phase make a token, those Sky Marcher Aspirants will have flying, which would be able to fly over the Brontodon.
What if Simon plays Thrashing Brontodon and just gets rid of the Baffling End right away? Can he actually keep him from doing so? It would put him down a permanent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, he could, but then he wouldn't have any blockers next turn. It's kind of a rough situation either way. And now Lee has a very interesting draw here. Venerated Loxodon. If he wants to play it, he would have to take a turn off. I could see him maybe attacking for 4 and then just running out Venerated Loxodon here, just to get additional pressure on the battlefield.
Yep. Paul, you still got it, buddy. And there it is, adding a 4/4 and an additional counter to the battlefield. But the point here is that it's more than lethal, right? This is easily lethal, so he's forcing Simon Görtzen to react, and there's nothing Simon can do. And Lee Shi Tian fights back to even things up at 1 game apiece. And now we're going to get 1 game to decide who goes home and who gets a step.
Look at how much faster these games are than we've seen in the previous matches. I mean, this is how these matchups play out, though. When you have an aggressive deck, you know, the game basically is decided usually by turn 4 or 5.
Yeah, these ones are way more exciting as far as blow by blow goes for us in the booth here. Also, they're playing a lot fewer of these of the planeswalkers with the static abilities that keep stumbling us up a little
Oh,
bit.
Yeah, the Arguel's Bloodfast in the previous match.
Yeah, we've been
we're like, why is BBD just making all these mistakes? It's like, oh wait, I should probably just assume they know what they're doing.
Yes.
And we're missing something.
Yeah, this can be a tough job sometimes, but on we go, onward into the tournament. So how does it? Oh, there's Tomek.
Yeah, and one really nice thing about Tomek in this matchup.
Tomeks.
I know it's legendary, but one nice thing about Tomek in this matchup is it actually shuts down Nissa's ability to animate lands because you cannot target lands. So, you know, I mean, on the surface, just by itself, 2-mana, 2/3 flyer is just a very efficient creature that you want in your aggressive decks, but it just gives you that little added bonus of shutting off your opponent's ability to make creatures with Nissa Who Shakes the World.
Nice start here for Simon. He has Thorn Lieutenant to mean that he's taking no damage this turn whatsoever. The Dauntless Bodyguard not able to attack through it, but Tomek, Distinguished Advocate, hits the battlefield, and as you mentioned with flying, we'll be able to start applying pressure. Simon has a fairly normal draw here. No mana creatures, but he's gone Thorn Lieutenant into Jadelight Ranger. Looks good from here. That's what he wants to be doing.
And he's probably going to bin this Nissa, given that he has 2 copies in hand, and he even has Blast Zone, which is a pretty effective card in this matchup. Even a Blast Zone for 1 will often get 2 or 3 creatures because the mono-white aggressive deck plays like 21 drops in the deck.
Yeah, and look at this. Lee Shi Tian's going to add 2 more 1-mana permanents to the battlefield this turn as well. Tomek's the only reasonable attacker. He's going to slam in there for a couple of damage, but wow, and look at that. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales off the top of the library here on turn 4, so Simon gets to go 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
it's hard to ask for better than that.
I mean, Simon might just be tempted to play Blast Zone to kill Lawward Enforcer, Dauntless Bodyguard, and Legion's Landing.
You make a strong point, Paul. How do you not do that, right? Like, that is just way too good.
Boom, 3 for 1 here.
What? He played a land and got a 3 for 1? That is insane. And look at this, he's attacking.
I guess maybe it's 2.5 because Legion's Landing did make that 1/1 token. But yeah, that slowed down Lee a ton. He no longer has the ability to potentially flip that Legion's Landing, and he doesn't have a follow-up play here. He's got a bunch of 3-drops and a Tomek that he can't play because it's legendary.
What a disaster there for Lee Shi Tian. His only possible play this turn is Conclave Tribunal.
Yeah, and he can't really feel good about tribunaling any of these creatures that are on the battlefield. Lee might actually choose to not attack with Tomek.
Up blocks? Like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be attacking here? No, he's still getting in there.
Yeah, but that was really, really rough. Lee needed to make a play that turn. Sort of how the mono white decks can punish opponents for coming out with slow starts. If the mono white deck also misses a beat, it's almost over right there on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, things are not looking good here for Lee Shi Tian. Simon Görtzen with, well, the Thorn Lieutenant, Jadelight Ranger, and then now he can even have a choice of Thrashing Brontodon or Tamiyo this turn.
He might just run out Tamiyo because he already has the ground set up nicely here with the Thorn Lieutenant and Jadelight Ranger. There's nothing Lee can really play next turn that would make it so that playing Tamiyo is just not a very safe thing to do.
Let's see what he's interested in at this point. He already has his next turn lined up pretty nicely here with Nissa Who Shakes the World. And he named Hydroid Krasis. He didn't hit one this time, though.
Yeah, but there's a Mass Manipulation in his graveyard that he could potentially get back at some point. It's a big spell.
Simon's considering his attack options at this point. Looks good.
Yeah, the Jadelight Ranger attack makes a lot of sense because if Lee plays something like a Benalich Marshal, ooh, attacking with both.
Oh, Simon is so aggro. I love it. He's picking a fight with the mono white deck, and he is Nexus Ramp. You got to love that.
But this was a really big draw. Lee absolutely needed to draw a land this turn, so this is going to help out a lot. He has lots of different options here. He has Benalia Marshal, History, or even Tribunal this turn. It looks like he's going to set up with Benalia, which will give him a steady stream of creatures, and then follow that up with Benalia Marshal next turn. Oh, look at this. Lee is choosing to ignore Tamiyo.
Wow, Lee says, hey, you want to race? I'll race.
Yeah. Lee's deck is definitely a lot better set up for this. And also, remember, Tomic is in play. Nissa cannot make 3/3 creatures here.
Oh. Well, he named Hydroichrasis with Tamiyo, and it looks like Hydroichrasis was hiding just one card deeper. Now, this has not been, though, one of those explosive mana draws for Simon. In fact, he's already sacrificed one of his lands and has no mana creatures in sight. Now, that's the reason why he's been able to keep this board stable and get to the point where he is, but it does make cards like Krasis a little less impactful when he can only play them for 3.
Yeah, he's going to play it for 3 here, but Lee does have the Benalia Marshal, meaning that he's going to be able to pump that Tomic into a 3/4, which will be bigger than the Hydroichrasis, so he can actually get it in attack next turn.
Still, we've seen how it goes when you cast one Hydroichrasis. The next one ends up being much bigger.
Of course, yes.
And you're off and find one thanks to the card draw from it. So we'll see. That was a little feeler Krasis. We'll see how it goes after that. What did he get back? Blink of an eye out of the graveyard from Tamiyo, Collector of Tales.
Now it might be extremely tempting. Before he chose to ignore the Tamiyo, but now if he plays the Benalia Marshal, he might want to just send the Tomic straight at the Tamiyo. Oftentimes, if you are unable to kill your opponent on an attack, generally what you want to be doing with your creatures is trying to kill their planeswalkers.
That's right. It does end up in a kind of an interesting situation, though, because Simon could block and then just use Tamiyo to get back Hydroichrasis and say, well, I can just keep doing this all day.
Right. Another thing he could have done is just to ensure he kills everything is just Conclave Tribunal away the Hydroichrasis and then attack Tomic into Tamiyo, and then all of a sudden Simon just has 2 green creatures on the battlefield.
It had to be tempting as well for Lee, but he's going to take that first line that you mentioned and leave Simon with no great blocks, right? He can chump block here, get back the Krasis, cast it. But that favors Lee as well, because then he would have that same play that you just mentioned available next turn.
Right.
And Simon is deep in the tank here. This is a big turn. Both of our players have won a game, but this match is an elimination, as we're double elimination and they both lost their first round. Boy, the pressure's really got to be mounting on them at this point. The disappointment, right? A really tough day 1 to scrap through, and then just to go 0-2 the next day would be,
Day 2 is extremely tough. You can just play 2 rounds and just be eliminated from the event. And there's 16 people, but only a quarter of that field will be able to make it to Sunday.
Simon did, by the way, chump block there. So Tamiyo stays alive.
And look, he's shaking his head.
Yep.
I think he really, really wanted to Tribunal the Hydroichrasis instead, because now
he has to hit Tamiyo.
Not only that, Simon has Blink of an Eye. Simon can use Blink of an Eye to bounce Conclave Tribunal, and Tamiyo would come into play with full loyalty. If he did it the other way, even if Simon bounces the Tribunal, Hydroichrasis would come into play as a 0/0.
Wow. That was a misstep.
Yeah, and you can see it on Lee's face. He's like, oh man, I was gonna do this anyways, because this is a really good turn to play Tribunal, because you don't want to be turning your creature sideways next turn. You want to be doing it to attack, not convoke.
Also of note, next turn is History of Benalia Chapter 3, and with the 2/3/3 Knights, they are going to be absolutely massive. Did Lee Shi Tian just open the door for Simon to get out of this? Because right now, Simon is facing down still, even with that sequence last turn, a huge board.
This Tomic is so impactful. It's doing so much work.
It's incredible.
It was a huge flyer that forced Simon to chump block with the Krasis, and it's shutting down Simon's ability to make a 3/3 with Nissa, which would be huge here.
Here's Thrashing Brontodon. Now, he'd love to get rid of that Conclave Tribunal, but boy, that History of Benalia also is representing a lot of extra damage. It's really tough for Simon, because he would love to have a 3/4 on the battlefield, assuming he survives next turn.
Oh, and look at it. It looks like he's just going to kill History of Benalia.
He has to, right? It's just too much. At least he can trade off on the ground here. He still has Blink of an Eye as well that he could use to kill one of the tokens.
Yeah, so...
Oh, or that he could bounce the Banalish Marshal in combat.
That's what Simon is looking to do. But of course, Lee does know about the blink of an eye, so he's going to be very mindful of that, and he's going to have to make some careful attacks. And this is actually not horrible for Simon, because Simon has the ability to instant speed bounce Marshal, meaning the tokens are going to be 2 2-2s and a 1-1.
I want to stay here.
What was that?
You said instant speed bounce Marshal. Easy, buddy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You meant Marshal with 1 L.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Although this has messed me up many times in our future league, where I try to make an aggressive white deck and I just misspell Banalish Marshal and it just doesn't pop up. And I'm like, oh, there's a bug. Something's wrong. Yeah.
You blame me?
Yes, I blame you. All right. You should change your name.
All right. Dauntless Bodyguard is going to hit the battlefield here. I wonder... So, I mean, from the looks of it here, the only attack is Tomek, right? All right, I was wrong. It looks like Lee is content to force Simon to use Blink of an Eye on Banalish Marshal in combat here, and he's willing to give up some of his board to do so. And he's just going to end up throwing away 2 of these creatures. He will get in for 4 damage plus the 2 in the air, so 6 total.
4. He'll get in for 4 because the Marshal gets bounced.
Oh, sorry, the Dauntless Bodyguard wasn't attacking. Right, so only 4 damage gets through, and he just lost 2 creatures straight away. Wow, I am surprised that Lee was willing to pay that cost.
It looks like basically Lee saying, look, I really don't want to play around Blink of an Eye at some later point in the game, so I'm just going to make you do it now, throw away my 2 creatures so that, you know, in the future I don't have to worry about this happening again, and my Banalish Marshal will be safe. Also, by forcing Simon to do it then, he prevents Simon from kicking it and getting that extra card off of it. That could be relevant as well. Right. Wow, Nissa, who shakes the world, is ready to come down and do work, and she just can't. And look at this. Simon not even playing it here. Simon choosing to keep up the ability to pump Thorn Lieutenant into a 6-7, or just cracking that Memorial to Genius to find more cards. Makes sense. Nissa just, you know, probably his best card and just doesn't do anything here. Yeah, and a huge draw here from Lee Shi Tian. Legion's landing off the top, meaning that he can start doing additional things with his mana. He's got a bit of a mana sink. Keep in mind, he can also consider attacking with Banalish Marshal because Dauntless Bodyguard has targeted. Still, look at this. That Thorn Lieutenant can get huge, and the Jade Light Ranger can trade off for any of the other creatures outside of Tomek. Yeah, he's decided to hold back Banalish Marshal. But flipping the Legion's landing, you definitely want to do that here because he doesn't really have anything else to do. That's right. The Deputy of Detention is stuck in hand thanks to no blue mana, and Tomek being a legendary creature, also stuck in hand. So Simon is going to go ahead and trade off the 3/2 Jade Light Ranger for the Knight token and gobble up the Dauntless Bodyguard. That does bring him down to 7 life. He's going to need something. Ooh, Entrancing Melody. Ooh, that was big. And taking a look at Simon's mana here. Can he do both? Because ideally he'd like to cast Nissa, cast Melody, and then make a 3/3. He can. He can play Nissa, and he'll have enough mana to cast Entrancing Melody on Tomek, I believe, and then he might be able to then make a 3/3 afterwards. Yes, because Tomek only affects your opponent's cards. That's right. So but he needs to have Tomek on his side for at least a 1-turn window to get one of his lands up, because the problem, of course, is that there's going to be another Tomek to follow. So, oh my, that was a huge draw here for Simon. Yeah, and the other thing that we have to mention here, of course, is that he does get to steal the Tomek. It's not just getting rid of the ability; he gets the blocker. Right. No, this was one of the best possible cards here. Now Nissa has been turned on, at least for the turn. At least for the turn, because of course Lee has a second Tomek. That's right, and his will cleanly outsize the opposing Tomek thanks to Banalish Marshal. Still, this is a giant reprieve here for Görtzen. Yeah, but Simon is down to 7. And indeed, Lee is continuing to pump out creatures here, and he will have the Superior Flyer in play next turn. Oh, Hollowed Fountain off the top of the library unlocks Deputy of Detention. Can he get the job done here? Yeah, and he has the ability to play Deputy of Detention and Tomek this turn. So he can use Deputy of Detention but he cannot get the island. So I don't think he has a great attack on the ground here. He might just look to use Deputy of Detention here on Nissa, who shakes the world, just to prevent Simon from having a ton of mana next turn, because he doesn't know about the second copy of Nissa in Simon's hand.
Okay, here's Tomek, the replacement Tomek.
And this will shut off Nissa from making creatures.
Well, it looks like he is planning. Oh, I see. He could still just use Adanto if he doesn't want to. No, he is going to cast Deputy of Detention.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose to like a giant Hydroid Krasis off the top here.
Sure.
So he's just planning out the Deputy of Detention here.
Jade Light Ranger was the draw step.
Oh, this is getting close. I mean, Lee's going to be able to. Lee has Simon on a 3-turn clock here with that Tomek, because he does have the bigger one due to Benalish Marshall. So
that's right.
Simon does get to dig a little bit here. He does have access to that Jade Light Ranger. He can also play Nissa plus Jade Light Ranger.
It's tempting.
This turn.
That static ability from Nissa is still relevant, even if her minus ability is not a possibility thanks to this corner case, really. I mean, Tomek generally is in the deck as a 2/3 flyer, but this is certainly relevant. It's completely changed the way that this elimination game has played out.
So let's see what Simon chooses to do. Yeah, it looks like, he's playing out Nissa first, tapping correctly, making sure he can play the Jade Light Ranger and get the bonus from the static. And let's see what we find here. This is going to be really big.
He needs to find one of his big spells here. All right.
Doesn't want that either.
It was 2 mana creatures, so he can just put those ones into the graveyard, clear those away off the top of his library. He now has a 4/3 Jade Light Ranger on the battlefield. Again, that ability from Nissa not doing anything.
Wow.
There's History of Benalia. Now, that's not going to affect the board this turn as far as attacks go, but that's a good long-term game plan building here for Lee.
Yeah, Lee has the ability to just kind of overwhelm Simon at this point. He's going to make an attack in with the Tomek. Then he has the mana to play History and also make a token with the Adanto. No, he doesn't. Never mind. He's one short. He's got five lands. Okay, so he's one short, but he's still probably going to run out the History here. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on Simon. Sure, he has a lot of mana here with Nissa. He still has cards he can draw. He does have Memorial to Genius in play. He does have 4 forests in play. Nissa's static is still turned on.
Okay, there it is. History of Benalia here from Lee Shi Tian. This is a big draw step for Simon, and it's nothing. It's Hinterland Harbor off the top.
Memorial time.
He's going to crack this Memorial to Genius and see if he can find something. He's got a window. Oh, it's
no.
2 more lands off the top of the library. That could be it.
1, 2, 3 blockers. This is lethal. This is a lethal attack. If Lee attacks with all of his creatures, he will be able to get in for 7 points of damage. He could potentially wait 1 more turn just to be safe in case Simon has a blink of an eye or something like that.
I think he's going to wait.
Yeah. It looks like that's what he's doing. Because Simon drew 2 cards off Memorial, it's so unlikely for him to have drawn 2 straight lands in a row that Lee thinks, you know what, next turn I can just win. But, wait for it.
I just saw a count.
Oh,
Look
is
at
this attack with everything?
Lee Shi Tian is doing the math. If he does pull the trigger on this attack, he will knock Simon Görtzen out of the tournament.
This is 7 damage going through, and he has to make a decision. This is really close. If Simon has a blink of an eye here, you know, he's going to lose a lot of his creatures here on the attack.
What a moment here for Lee Shi Tian. He's done the numbers, and he's in. He's going to attack with everything, and that will earn him the victory here. Simon's going to go to blocks just to make sure.
Yeah, but that said,
that
was
a gutsy attack from Lee Shi Tian.
Wow.
He said, "You know what? I'm in. Let's do it. What do you got?"
You know what? I have History Chapter 4 next turn, Chapter 3 next turn. Anyways, I'm going to make a token off of Adanto, and I'm going to have a Lauren Enforcer. So even if you have a blink of an eye, it's not that bad for me.
Simon's going to go ahead and pump up the Thorn Lieutenant, but that is victory for Lee Shi Tian. A great run by Simon Görtzen, but it does come to an end here. That is going to do it for our live coverage here. We're going to take a short break here in just a few minutes. All right, we'll see you right after this.
I'm Alexander Hain. I'm from Canada and member of the MPL. When I really got into Magic was college. Both my parents come from an academic background, so for them, success in school was number one. They didn't really understand. And then Saturday night of the Pro Tour, my mom got to meet me and the team at the event and ended up winning, and it was quite something. Since then, she's gone like full-blown fan of Magic.
My name is Carlos Romão. I'm former 2002 World Champion. I remember when I won my first invite to the Pro Tour, told my father, okay, so this is a professional Magic tournament. My father was like, you take like A grades on the school and then you can go. My family was always supportive since the beginning. Like without them, I wouldn't be able to be here. When I got the call, I heard, okay, so we're gonna sign you a contract. And I told my father, and he was so excited. I remember that my mother picked up the phone and said, oh, congratulations, son, blah, blah, blah. Without them, I couldn't achieve anything like on this game.
My name is Eric Froelich. I'm in the Magic Pro League and the Magic Pro Tour Hall of Fame. It just so happened that my entire 5th grade class really just started getting into Magic. I wanted to go to the local game store. I went with my dad and we bought a nice little starter kit at the time. My dad ended up reading the entire rulebook, teaching me how to play, and I played with my classmates. I ended up finding myself winning and advancing all the way to the top 8 and qualifying for the Pro Tour at 13 years old. And at that point, I was just fully immersed in wanting to go to every major tournament around me. And that's what I did. I was lucky enough to have really supportive parents who found a way to make sure everything I needed to go to, I was there.
I'm John Rolfe from Omaha, Nebraska. I've been playing Magic for about 15 years. I played Pro Tour Ixalan, which I thought was going to be my last Pro Tour, and I ended up top 4ing the whole thing. And so then it gave me this awesome opportunity, and I've always wanted to pursue this. Why not take a chance? And I just kept winning, and now we're here. So when I got the call to join the MPL, at first I was just shocked. I had to think about it for a really long time, and Magic had been such a big part of my life that I had to at least see where the future goes. I mean, I didn't want to live with any regrets.
Be happy with his opening hand.
My name is Piotr Głogowski. I live in Poland, Poznań. I have been playing Magic since return to Ravnica. Before joining the Magic Pro League, I have been streaming MTGO. I hope that with the advent of the MPL and Magic Arena, I can expand on that. I'm certainly not going to leave the older formats that I love in the dust.
Draw 2, discard 2, and straight into the concession.
Wow. My name's Reed Duke. I'm a longtime professional Magic player, and I'm a member of the inaugural Magic Pro League this year. My older brother Ian and I learned to play together, and I started taking it real seriously once I was around college age, and I've been a pro for about 6 or 7 years.
Declare my attack, says Reed Duke. Autumn says, you got it, and scoops up.
I come from a tremendously supportive family, and my mother and I sort of have this joke that I'll come home and she'll say, how was the tournament? And I'll say, oh, well, I lost in the finals. Or she'll say, well, you're still a winner to me.
$100,000 is on the line, and this beautiful trophy for the winner here of Mythic Championship number 3. Welcome back to coverage. Maria Bertholdi and Day 9 with you here at the News Desk in Day 9. Tomek, who knew Tomek would be an all-star here in this championship?
God. Yeah, you know, there's this agonizing truth in Magic the Gathering. There's a difference between reading the card and reading the card.
That is very true.
Because often when you're presented with a Magic card, you see a whole bunch of text and your brain starts to focus on and understand the really important pieces. For Tomek, it's a 2/3 flyer for 2. Very versatile.
Great, I'm good to go. Do I need to know anything else?
It's legendary, so I don't want to run too many copies, and I think we're good.
Yeah,
I think
we're good. We're good, right?
And then in that matchup, the reason why we got the chance to see another White Weenie victory was Tomek, because Nissa can't cast on the land. And that is something that is like such a corner case tech
Absolutely. Really cool to see Tomek shine in that matchup. So Lee Shi Tian lives to fight another day. Simon Görtzen, not his tournament, it turns out.
Yeah.
Somebody, though, who is very, very excited to get potentially one more win under his belt and lock up a spot, fingers crossed, in the top 4 is Shahar Shenhar, and he's with Becca.
Hey there, I'm standing here with 2-time world champion Shahar Shenhar. Tell me about the match you just won.
Well, the match I played against was against Marcio, and as you can tell, my heart is really beating fast. It was a real nail-biter. He used a Scan to the Sunken Ruin and was trying to find Kaya's Wrath, but it was the 5th card, so he whiffed, and instead used Thought Erasure to take my Fight with Fire when I had 8 lands in play. I attacked with all my creatures, and I drew War Boss after the Kaya's Wrath that he found the next turn. So it was really, really close.
Oh, what an incredible win, and against a very difficult player. How do you feel about the field of players in general? Pretty tough crowd to beat out there.
Well, I'm trying to avoid Oath of Kaya, but half of the tournament is playing that card. I played it twice in the last 2 rounds, and I've lost to it day 1 as well twice. So I want to play against Simic Nexus, and I want to play against Nissa Ramp decks, but that hasn't happened yet, so let's do it.
Is it annoying as a mono-red player to see everybody using Oath of Kaya as a burn spell over and over?
Well, not as a burn spell, but killing my Chain Whirler is the worst feeling, because previously, before the Oath of Kaya, it was very, very, very tough for the Esper players to kill Chain Whirler. Like, they have Moment of Craving, and they could cast down it, but that's, you still deal the damage. But Oath of Kaya, they get back all the advantage, and with the Planeswalkers, you have to attack them, and it's a nightmare. Oath of Kaya is really good.
Yeah. So you just have a short path into day 3 here. Tell me about what's left for you.
Well, I have to win 1 more round since now I'm 2-0. So if I win next round, then I'm in the top 4.
And how do you feel about that? What are you going to do if you win this?
I'm going to jump up and down, and I'm going to be so excited to make the top 4.
All right. So Shahar Shenhar still up for that seat for another world championship, possibly in 2019. Thanks so much, Shahar. It's been really great to speak with you.
You too.
All right, let's see some jumping up and down, Shahar. We're counting on it if you make top 4 and take down the whole thing. Hey, Paul Chian's joined us at the desk along with Day 9, and we're going to take a look at some highlights from another match from our feature round. This is Kai Buddha versus Brian Braun Esper Hero Mirror.
Oh my gosh. BBD, aka Brian Braun at the bottom, ran straight up against that Esper Control mirror, and I think this is the first Esper Hero mirror that we've gotten the chance to see. I mean, Hostage Taker is obviously an essential key card in this matchup.
It is, however, it looks like Kai has the answer here and gets back the Hero Precinct 1. And what Kai said was, you know what? I just copied BBD's list. So they're basically playing the exact same deck here. And BBD has a ton of experience with this deck. He won 6 out of his 7 matches in the MPL to lock a slot.
That cracked me up when he said that.
Yeah.
It's such, just the sheer power of this deck. It snowballs super hard, and a critical thing to keep in mind in these Esper Hero matchups is it's super momentum based. There's not big, 3-for-1, 4-for-1 cards like Kaya's Wrath. It's all about who gets that Hero Precinct 1 to stick, who continues to get the chains going off, and Teferi Time Raveler definitely going to be able to bounce that Oath of Kaya back. The Elite Guard Mage is really powerful anti-aggressive tool.
Yeah, it's all about the incremental card advantage here, but Kai has a little spicy card in his hand here. He's got Ugin the Ineffable, and he's got 5 lands in play, so he needs 1 more land to be able to cast it. And it looks like he did find it. He has Oath of Kai here. He wants to clear the way here, make sure he gets the flyers out of the way before playing that Ugin.
This is going to be such a grindy game with 26 versus 24 health. There's a lot of long-term potential with double Teferi in the hand for BBD. Just going to go ahead and exchange some 1/1s. This Elite Guard Mage is going to untap and kind of form the wall. Narset is not going to be very valuable right now. Sure, she can do a lot of work in the long term, but it looks like Teferi Time Raveler is not going to do anything greedy like bounce the Elite Guard Mage. Instead, it's just going to try to start picking off these tokens one at a time and then bounce the Hero Precinct 1 for a little bit of stall potential.
Yeah, BBD just kind of wants to stem the bleeding here. And let's see if he can try to take over. He's got Teferi Hero of Dominaria stopping Kai's, but remember, Kai has been sandbagging that Ugin the Ineffable the entire game.
Yeah, and now when Ugin comes down, you hurt everywhere. Ugin, there's not really an answer that you're going to have once you've eliminated that Elite Guard Mage. And now all of a sudden, strong momentum in the favor of Kai Buddha. It's looking pretty grim.
Yeah, he's got a great board here. He's got a continuous source of card advantage in Ugin. The only thing he really is concerned about is something like an Oath of Kaya off the top from BBD, which would allow him to deal with that Ugin in play. But BBD needs to really string together a lot of cards here to even have a chance, because Ugin is going to take over this game.
Oh, Command the Dread Horde.
That's a card. That is a card.
Now we have to count. There's 13 health. There's a pair of, oh my gosh, dude,
Oh.
Oath of Kaya burn is turning out to be so effective. This is eating up all the ammunition that you might have with the Command the Dreadhorde. So it looks like we're going to have Brian Braun-Duin just take a little bit more time to just eat up as many creatures as possible, get the biggest, most valuable Command the Dreadhorde possible, but
it looks like Kai
Still
might just
10
be
life.
too far ahead on the board here. Command the Dreadhorde, I mean, BBD is only at 10 life here. Now he's
electing
at 4.
to go to 4.
Oh, this is so close.
Yeah, now Teferi Time Raveler's, oh, and there's a Tyrant Scorn in hand, so Teferi Time Raveler can bounce. And that is game 1 going in the way of Kai Buddha.
Yeah, and you saw him really just kind of take over that game with Hero of Precinct 1 advantage, generating 6 or 7 tokens over the course of that game.
Thought Erasure starting things off. I love this Arguel's Bloodfast as a very nice key bit of tech against some of these slower matchups. Right now, we don't really have too much of an issue for Kai Buddha being able to deal with this Oath of Kaya. I just cannot stress enough how much of a power card that is in these matchups.
Yeah, it does so much work. I mean, it just has double synergy. A 3-mana card that deals 3 and gains 3 is already a very strong card to play, but it also protects your Planeswalkers.
Oh! Kai Buddha sneaking in the Dovin's Veto. I don't know if that was main deck or sideboard. Most players are running 0 or 1 in the main and sneaking a few in the sideboard, and that is the sort of obnoxiousness that has been really rare in this matchup. We just don't see a lot of counter spells with Esper Control these days due to Teferi, and with the Command the Dreadhorde in hand, Kai Buddha has it. Brian
This is going to be huge. What are we getting here? It's a Teferi? That's all you need.
And then an Ugin off the top. Oh
man,
my
that
gosh.
Ugin doing so much work in this match.
Jeez, this is such a one-sided board state. I mean, this is really the truth of Esper Hero versus Esper Hero. Again, you don't really have very swingy moments outside of Command the Dreadhorde, which is the pretty much singular swing that you can do. Outside of that, it's just gradual momentum that you're trying to chip away and eventually overrun your opponent. I mean, this is an unwinnable board state, but BBD being a pro, just making sure that he runs
And time
out.
again, we have seen this. Elder Spell, sacrifice your own Planeswalkers to get that Teferi emblem on the battlefield, because that will almost assuredly lock up this game.
I mean, I love this trick. Elder Spell your own guys, get the emblem up. And, it's one of these things that sure, it could be, oh, there's the concession. BBD out, Kai Buddha on. And, I think it's one of those really key things in the matchup where the instant you can get the Teferi emblem, you get it every single time. There's no need to be greedy. Once you start winning, just keep slowly chipping away more and more and more, exiling one card at a time.
Yeah, you saw that matchup. It was a lot more dynamic because of the existence of Hero Precinct 1. But you saw how the games have been ended time and time again. It's Teferi, Elder Spell, all your other Planeswalkers, once you've extracted max value from them, gotten your cards with Narset, gotten your card with Teferi Time Raveler, and then the emblem, and there's just simply nothing you can do. And because the games go so long, that will just ultimately take over the game.
Yeah, I mean, Elder Spell is a sort of card that we have been seeing a lot in the sideboard in the past few weeks, but at this tournament, main boarding 1 or 2 winds up just having self-synergy.
Right. I mean, the metagame
has suicide of the Planeswalkers.
The metagame has shifted so much to the point where it's actually completely reasonable to play 1 in your deck. And if you think your primary win condition is to do the thing with Teferi, why not play 2?
Yeah. And with that, that means that BBD, one of the players who advanced to day 2 purely out of MPL rankings, is out, and Kai Buddha advances. And there's a whole slew of other interesting results in the brackets. Maria, tell us a little bit about what we've been seeing.
Hey, thanks, Day 9. Yeah, we're going to start things out taking a look at our upper bracket. So these are the people that are playing for a spot in our top 4. They've just got to win one more. So take a look there at our upper bracket. By the way, these guys get to kick back and relax this round where we focus on our lower bracket. But don't worry, you will see every turn of both of these games later in the day. Jean-Emmanuel Depras versus Shahar Shenhar. That's going to be Is It Phoenix versus Mono Red, which is always a really cool matchup. So you're going to want to keep your eye out for that. And then, of course, the underdog, Matthias Leverato, battling against the giants of the game here, going up against Brad Nelson, the standard master. That's going to be Esper Hero in the hands of Nelson versus Simic Nexus in the hands of Matthias Leverato. But like I said, we're going to focus on our lower bracket to kick things off because, of course, this is where the excitement happens. These are elimination matches, and you'll see all of these coming up. Lee Shi Tian versus Marcio Carvalho is the first one I want to tell you about. Boros Aggro in the hands of Lee Shi Tian versus Esper Control in the hands of Marcio Carvalho. Coming up next, John Rolfe versus Raphael Leve. That's an Esper Control versus Mono Red matchup. Two ends of the spectrum there, Mono Red for Leve. Rolfe has Esper Control. Then we'll see all of Rei Sato versus Shota Yasaoka. Boros Aggro in the hands of Rei Sato versus Esper Control from Shota Yasaoka. But our big name marquee match coming up this round, Kai Bude, the German juggernaut, one of the all-time greats of the game on Esper Hero versus Ken Yukihiro, one of the most creative deck builders playing Band Ramp, is going to kick things off for our feature matches this round. And for a closer look, I'm going to send it back over to day 9.
Thank you so much, Maria. This is a sort of matchup that I'm super interested to see play out because I feel like this is one of the very first things that you were saying at 8 a.m. day 1. Why did Bant Ramp start to show up so much in the meta?
I think primarily it's to beat on the Esper Hero decks. You know, the Esper Hero deck plays a handful of removal